Yeah.
It's all about you and your will. The Candid Conversation Show. Let's go. Let's talk about it.
Hey, let's talk, let's walk it out. Let's talk, walk it out.
It's all about you.
Walk it out. Let's talk.
Welcome to Talk About It, the Candid Conversation Show with Muriel
And Ruby.
where we discuss topics that are unspoken and taboo in our community.
Like, for real?
You gotta put in the work.
Yeah. So, I just choices,
Exactly.
opportunity,
That's right.
and drive will get you anything you want.
You can do anything you want.
You put your mind to it.
It's very attainable.
Oh, yeah.
I have to admit, our current president made me feel like I could be a president one day.
Yeah,
I don't know if
anybody
I
can. You can.
want to be,
Yeah,
but
but
I'm
you
saying
could.
if he can do it, anybody
do it.
can,
You could
right?
too.
So, definitely, and that's another thing, being a dreamer, I love it.
You're
I
doing
tell
it.
all people continue to dream.
That's right.
And there's a separation in people. Some people have given up on dreams, and some people are dreamers, and
They can
we
help
don't
us.
see things eye to
If I
eye.
didn't mention that, we would have never known because a lot of us just keep quiet, and I did for many, many years. So you also went through something?
My daughter's dad and I had a very tumultuous relationship, and it was a lot of physical, a lot of emotional, and I stayed for the fact of I didn't want her to come up like me in a
Of
single,
course, in a single
but
parent
it
household.
wasn't worth my life.
Yes, it wasn't.
It wasn't
Or
worth my
hers to
life.
con-
Or
to see
hers.
that.
Or hers,
Right.
yes, and just that whole vibe. And I just kept praying, please don't give me a crying baby, because that's all I seem to do is cry. But what you do experience does rub off on your children.
It does.
And that's why I deal with, mostly single moms now and their daughters.
Welcome to the show, Shannon.
Thank you so much.
We're so happy to have you.
Yes.
And I'm delighted as well.
Yes. We like to lead at the beginning of the show with having the guests share a little bit about their childhood with us, because we feel that your childhood is the foundation to who we become as adults. Because strong people begin as broken children. Can you share a little bit of your childhood with us?
Wow, what a wonderful segue. Wow, you are so correct. And so to speak to what you just said a while ago, Ruby, I was molested as a 5-year-old.
Oh, no.
And that wasn't even the issue. I was blamed
Mental
for
illness
it.
is very prevalent, and it's a blessing and a pleasure that you guys have me on the show, even talking about it. I know you could have got so many other people, but I thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we've been following you, and we know that you have your own issues with mental health, and we wanted to hear a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, I was diagnosed in 2013 with bipolar, schizophrenia, and PTSD. And first, I didn't have any type of understanding of it until I started to research it myself, and then I was like, wow. I am paranoid because I seen friends get shot in front of me, get murdered in front of me. Wow. I always had to walk around like something can happen to me,
Right.
at any time.
Right.
So, and when you're growing up, you have all types of motto, kill or be killed. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And so all of those type of terminology
Right.
plays with your psyche.
Oh, yes.
So you walk around angry like a lot of young men who you see in a hip-hop community. A lot of young men who you see that successful athletes walk around with that same type of aggression because they didn't know how to manage it or deal with it or had a mentor or someone that helped them deal with it.
Keisha, I struggle with ongoing depression, and I know in 2009 you hit a point where you were depressed. How did you overcome that?
Before we even go into that, I want to say something that, and to anybody out there, a lot of people think depression doesn't look like us, okay? Depression doesn't wear weave, it doesn't have Louis Vuitton. Depression doesn't matter who it is,
you are.
where you come from,
What degrees you
what
have.
degrees you have, what titles you're wearing. It is a mental illness. And before I recognized that, it was something that I was ashamed of, right? So just taking you back in a little backstory, because people get into depression for various reasons.
Anything.
You know, anything. Mine happened to be 2009, what people are experiencing now. Okay? Lost my 6-figure job. You know, we moved here, big American dream. My husband, you know, meet my American boy, got married, you know, everything's great. He's got his 6-figure job, so have I. Life is good. 2009 comes. I wasn't even used to the at-will situation that they have in Florida. In London, they'll give you notice. So once, you know, they start crunching them numbers in the office and people have to go, some of those with the biggest salaries are the first they look at, right? So I was one of those, and it was like, see you later, you haven't been working with us long enough.
You're like, how could you do this to me?
Saw the pain in my daughter's eyes as she watched the strong mother she'd always, you know, and it gets emotional even speaking about it now.
You fell.
She saw me fall. This is the mother who was always the champion, the warrior. Mom,
your hero, her hero.
What's happening? My husband, a strong, independent black woman I married.
I know. Where's she at?
Where's she at? And I'm going to be real with you. There was one day that changed all of that. I was in fetal position because a lot of times when you are in that state, you're screaming out and you're crying to the Lord, but sometimes you're not paying attention to what He's saying to you.
You gotta pay
and
attention.
had another one of my pity parties, because I used to call them that, you know, your daily pity parties, and I'm curled up in fetal position saying, why me, Lord, why me?
I had a stroke on air 2004 at Local 6. It was the morning news. I was delivering the morning news, and it was 5 a.m. in the morning, and they cued me. Lights, camera, and nothing came out. And we're sitting on the desk, just like we're sitting right here, and I'm like, couldn't understand what was happening. Ironically, this is how things set up. Ironically, a few months earlier, a part of my role as an anchor was to do a story on the early warning signs of a stroke. So it was Heart Month. It was Heart Month in February, and that each anchor had a story to do around Heart Month. That happened to be my particular story. So I interviewed a woman. Her name is Valerie Green. She's a stroke survivor. I did the story, did the warning signs, filed it away like we normally do. We do a story, go on to the next one. That's it. Didn't think anything of it, right? It wasn't until months later I was passing out, recurring headaches, kind of blurred vision, and the speech was like, and I just kept dismissing it. I kept dismissing it because I was going through a divorce at the time, right? So stress. So I'm thinking it's just stress, right, Muriel? I'm thinking it's just stress, right? I'm popping Advil like daily candy, right? But it wasn't. But until the Lord said, listen, I'm trying to get your attention. And He took my voice for just a moment, right? So that I got your attention. Got my attention. And that's what happened. And so from that moment, my marriage fell apart, ended in divorce. Sorry about that. No, that's a good thing. It's okay, because it led me to where I am right now. But sometimes that's a great thing. I mean, he was a wonderful man, but at this point, I'm glad that it's brought me to this point. So it's part of my journey. And the marriage fell apart. My job hit a layoff. I lost my home because I couldn't hold the home by myself on one income and no income at that point. So it was like all these things happened, spiraling out of control, right? At no fault of my own. Oftentimes, you know how we talk about, oh, it's my fault. No, I didn't do anything.
You didn't
How
do a
can
thing.
how can this happen to me? I'm sure you guys have been through that, right?
Yes, definitely.
You're right. And so it's that moment where I'm talking to a girlfriend on the phone, and I'm crying about all of the stuff that I have, the shoes and the clothes, and now I don't have my big house, and I don't know what to do with this. And she's like, shut up.
Stop this. Stop the madness.
Stop it. Shut up.
Yes.
And quit your whining.
You've got
Because
your health.
all of that stuff that you have, that extra stuff that you're talking about, I want you to go and find a group of women in transition and give them all of the things you're talking about. Now, of course, Cecily was like,
I want my stuff.
Yeah.
These shoes?
I know, right?
These shoes,
These shoes cost such and such.
These Jimmy Choos.
And that's what I said. What? And she said, yes, give it to them, and then watch God fill your hand more than you can have imagined, right?
Growing up, I came here from Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
Okay.
At the early age, sac passé.
Yay, not boule.
At the early age of 3, and when I got here, I came here with one of my uncles, and unfortunately, a lot of unfortunate things happened where I was placed into foster care.
Oh, no.
Due to child abuse, a lot of child abuse.
Oh,
And
so sorry to hear that.
yes, and I had to go from place to place, bounce around, and it was really hard just adjusting, coming here and not having no other family because my biological mom and all my siblings, everyone, my grandma, everyone is left back in Haiti.
So you just came with him your mom sent you with him?
With her brother,
Oh, okay.
and his wife, and I came here with another cousin who's like a sister as well to me. So it was just us. That's all I had.
Okay.
And when me and her was taken away, and we kind of had to separate and move from place to place, it was just kind of difficult to adjust. And I became such a fighter. I'm definitely not the person that I was back then. I was always it was like I had a lot of built up anger.
Of course.
And the way for me to release it was by fighting. Was by just having. I felt like I always had to defend myself. There was a guard that was just up. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone. So for a long time, I held that guard. I felt unloved. I felt like, why me?
And no child should have to feel that way.
Exactly. And I had to grow up so quickly, and I figured a lot of things out. Things that most kids have a normal childhood, and I felt like I didn't get to experience a normal childhood because of having to always be in survivor mode.
My household was happy for a little bit, and then I would say it started getting rough when I was probably about 9 or 10 years old.
What happened?
My mom actually became addicted to gambling, so it left me to be a parent in my home for my younger brother, who was 2 years younger than me. And she also had a male friend that would babysit us sometimes. He began to molest me at 10 years old.
Oh, no.
Yes, so it was rough for me, and I didn't really speak about it. I didn't tell anyone about it because I felt ashamed.
That they wouldn't believe you.
Exactly. And at 10 years old, when you don't have someone that that talks to you, it's really hard to open up and say anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she was just gambling out of the house. She was not home, and he was basically the only one there with you.
Correct. He was there some of the time, and she was gone pretty much majority of the time. It kind of left me to raise myself, to kind of grow and be a little adult, I guess.
Right.
I was kind of feeding him and making sure my little brother was good and taking care of the home. So it was like I was a 10-year-old adult.
So,
at the time, did you realize that it was wrong? Did you say no?
I never said no.
Okay.
I didn't really know it was wrong.
Okay.
I knew it felt different. I didn't know what it really was.
Right.
But I can't say I really knew if it was right or wrong. I just knew that this was something I didn't know anything about at that time, prior to that. Stopped having a period, and she was like, you haven't been having, your menstruation. She was like, what's been going on? You haven't been coming to me. And then she was like, lay down on the bed. And I was like, okay. So I laid down on the bed, and she seen that my stomach was bumped, and she was like, I'm taking you to the doctor.
Oh my goodness.
what?
Yes. So I went to the doctor, and I found out that I was 5 months pregnant, and I was 11 years old.
Hold on a second. So you were pregnant with her boyfriend?
He was a male friend.
He was a friend.
Yes.
Oh, okay. It wasn't her boyfriend.
No.
But you were pregnant for him?
Yes.
Well, at first, I want to thank you both. So often you have people who have platforms, and they're not willing to share their platforms with others, but I want to thank you both for sharing your platform and allowing me to be here. I find it such a privilege and such an honor. So I really appreciate the both of you and the work that you're doing in the community.
I appreciate your support. Absolutely. You're such an inspiration to us, not only us, but as well to the community. And we know that you're busy, so we appreciate you taking time out to come and join us.
It's my pleasure.
Et puis nous comptons nous gagner haïtien avec nous.
Oui. Mais on connaît des fois créole la loupe.
Yes.
Dégagez.
Oui.
Yeah. We love it. Yes. I tell you, and I can be honest with you, I don't even look at it as being the first Haitian American. I just look at it as being a role model and an inspiration to others who might have thought that, running for office and being somebody who is not from this country,
right,
and just taking the chance and taking the risk. I just want to be an inspiration to anybody else. And you don't have to be young. You can be an older person,
right,
and you still have dreams or desires. So I just want to let folks know that first thing is that you cannot be afraid. You know,
yes,
fear stops us from doing so many things.
absolutely.
And I always look at it like this: what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You can fail, but that makes us who we are. You know, not all of us win every time.
Yes.
So it's just letting other folks know that, you know, hopefully when you see me, you just see some type of inspiration, maybe something you were afraid of doing.
Yes.
Then you're going to say, you know what? Somebody else has done something.
Yes.
Somebody else has stepped out there. So why not me? You
Yes.
know? So that's how I look at it. But I find it a privilege, and I would have never thought that I would be in this position.
Wow.
But I know we serve an awesome God.
Right. Yes.
You know, that does impossible things.
Absolutely.
So that's why, you know.
You make us look
Yeah.
real good.
Yes, you do.
I can come to you and say that you have breast cancer, and until that day that it happens to you will never understand how that feels. That is a feeling I can't even explain to you. Sorry.
Wow.
It's okay.
No, that's okay.
It's, it's life changing.
Can't even imagine.
And so I just remember I was by myself, so and because I'm thinking that there was nothing, you know, they weren't going to give me news that I had breast cancer.
Because you were like,
and they did.
kept saying, no, it might not be anything.
Yes, you do not think they're going to tell you that until the day they do.
So you called your husband
Yeah,
right
I was
then and
like-
there?
and it was. I can laugh about it too, and I only cry because I reminisce about that
day.
feeling that day, and it will affect you for the rest of your life. But I can still rejoice in it, you know, because I can recall the fact that how my spirit wasn't broken because of that. I was resilient. My friends and my community, they were just awesome.
You said, I'm going to beat this.
Heck yeah.
And look at you. 3 years later.
3 years later. Yeah, I'm a survivor.
Yes.
I'm a survivor. Yes.
That is beautiful.
Thank
Did you
you.
have to go through any chemotherapy or radiation?
I did. And I think the scare for me is that the day when I was diagnosed, it wasn't just that they said, you, with the biopsy came back positive, you have breast cancer.
Period.
They explained to me that the type of breast cancer that I had was triple negative. And there are like 3 receptors. There are 3 receptors that are common among breast cancer. Mine is triple negative because my mass did not have any of those tissues. So what that means is that it can be a very aggressive form, and only chemotherapy is typically that can eradicate it, and, you know, to hopefully to give you that lifelong expectancy. Excuse me, because it is the most aggressive breast cancer. The sad thing about that breast cancer is that it's very high rate for African American women. Triple negative is.
Oh my goodness.
And Barack Obama in 2016.
Tell them that. Tell them that.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
yes,
that's important.
Yes, it really is. It's the diagnosis of a triple negative. It's becoming so common now among African American women, even women of color, Hispanics as well. And it's the most aggressive breast cancer.
Now, can you tell us what led you into law enforcement?
Yeah, so I look back to 2 very distinct interactions with law enforcement that led me to this life of service. So the first, when I was younger, my brothers and my mom and I, we were involved in a traffic crash. And I just remember we were traumatized from it. You know, we had never been involved in anything like that before. And I'll never forget the police officer who showed up. You know, he was professional, his uniform was crisp and clean, his car was immaculate. He drove us home in his police car. You know, as a little boy, you kind of look up to police officers. But the thing I remember about him most was just the compassion he showed and the kindness he showed to our family. So then fast forward a few years later, I was a young teenager, you know, my hair was a little longer, and I was, you know, stopped by the police. And that interaction was very, very different. And
it wasn't so nice.
Yeah, so I was just a young kid cutting through some yards to go to the store, and I didn't like the way I was treated. And that officer he was disheveled, he wasn't clean shaven, he didn't take care of his uniform or his appearance. But the thing I remember him about the most is he didn't treat me with dignity and respect. And I always said that, you know, if I become a police officer moving forward, I'm going to be like that first guy that I looked up to, and not that second guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You left a lasting impression. That's what happened.
Very lasting impression for both of them on me.
Very good.
What led you to want to be Orange County Sheriff?
So I had been with the Orlando Police Department for 28 years. I was chief at the Orlando Police Department for almost 4 years, and did a lot of great things there. We were able to reduce crime, reduce officer-involved shootings, reduce use of force, and reduce complaints by our citizens on our officers. So, and of course dealt with the tragedy of Pulse. And I really liked being the chief of police in Orlando. Loved working for Mayor Buddy Dyer. But when I heard that Sheriff Demings was going to leave and become Mayor Demings, I said, well, who is best equipped to fill that position? And I thought to myself, well, I've been a resident of Orange County for 30 years. I've got 28 years of experience. I'm chief of police of the largest municipal police department here. I've been to the FBI National Academy. So I thought I was best equipped.
And my dad still wanted me to have that foundation of school in Jamaica.
Of course.
So I was sent to live with my godmother.
Okay.
Right? And while there, there was a young man in the home. And unfortunately, I was molested.
Oh, no.
And of course, you're warned, don't talk about it, don't say anything about it.
You'll hurt this
know,
person, they won't believe you.
They won't believe you. Who's going to believe you? You're
No.
a child.
Yes.
And I remember telling, a sister, a half-sister that I have that, something took place that really wasn't right. And I was removed from there.
Oh, wow.
Yes. After about 1.5 years, though.
Okay.
I was removed from there. And took the Common Entrance Exam, which is the exam that you take in Jamaica to attend high school.
Okay.
There's high school, there's secondary school. And at 10 years old, I passed that exam.
Because you're so smart.
Okay. I don't know. I think I was focused
There you go.
on definitely achieving it, because it was a big deal about
it's a
taking
big
that
deal.
exam.
Yeah.
So
It is a big deal.
I thank you for that. I think that it was one of the highlights for me, knowing that, because your name is published in the newspaper.
That's right. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And from there, I attended high school in Jamaica for an additional 2.5 years.
Okay.
Before I migrated here.
Okay.
And once you got here, it was, we need to put her back because she's coming from a third world country.
Of course. That's how it works.
And then I was tested. It was, she's a little above.
Yeah. Push her forward.
We're going to push her forward. So I attended high school in Brooklyn.
Okay.
All
Brooklyn in the house.
Yes, Brooklyn. I went to Sheepshead Bay High School.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that school was in an area that was very racist. It really was. You were called the N-word, and remember,
Like
I'm
it was
young.
nothing.
Yeah, it was no big deal. So I was young. I was like, that's not a good word.
No.
No, I'm not supposed to be called that.
No.
So I, as a strong human being that was still young, was like, don't call me that.
That's right.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
not
putting
that's
up
not
with that.
acceptable. No, not at all. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, I think the first person that called me back, I took off my shoe.
You were ready.
Literally and figuratively saved me.
Saved your life.
She did. And it was so cute because there was one time we had educated about 2,500 kids down at Celebration High School, and I was calling her on the way home because I'd call her after we did something big every time, right? And I said, Cordy, I said, we just educated 2,500 kids and they really loved it and they got it. And I said, thank you. I go, you had something to do with that.
Yeah.
She was real quiet and she goes, that's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
I go, well, it could be. It could be.
Yes.
I said, but I want you to get, because you made the choice that you made.
Yes.
I get to make that kind of difference.
Yes.
But you know what? We want to share with the viewers, because as you're speaking on it, we want to tell them, you tell them what it is. What is it that you do?
Of course.
What does Jan do in
What
the
a good segue, huh?
Yes.
We didn't even plan it.
Yes.
So, so I founded Paving the Way 7 years ago, and we do human trafficking awareness and prevention training specifically for youth.
Okay,
for you.
My family, especially my mother, my parents split when I was really young. And so for the most part, I was raised with my mother in a single parent household. It was me and my 3 sisters. Yeah, it was tough. It was really tough for her. I learned to give her a lot of grace once I became a mother. Because as a kid, I understood. As a kid, I had no understanding, and it was very it was tough for us. You know, my mother was raising 3 daughters on her own, and, you know, she was managing her own mental wellness, and she got a chance to meet her biological mother right before she passed, only to find out that her biological mother was adopted too.
Oh my goodness.
And so our childhood was very strained. It's just, I would say, a lot of violence, a lot of dysfunction. We just did not seem to have a way to operate in peace in that home. And that comes from generations of dysfunction and unhealed trauma.
Yes.
And so my mother, very powerful, very anointed woman, she just struggled.
Yes.
You know, I can't imagine what it was like, you know, raising us
Of course.
by herself.
It's tough.
And she did it. You know, I think we had our breaking point, a breakthrough in our relationship, I would say about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
And of course, we were in a heated argument and we were yelling and screaming. And she said, "You guys always give me such a hard time. You always say I'm this, I'm that. But what y'all don't know is I did it on my own and I didn't leave y'all." And when she said I didn't leave y'all, something about that shifted my perspective. And I learned to give her compassion. I'm like, you know what? Her mother left her.
There you go.
And then her mother's mother left her. So the best way that she knew how to be a good mother was to stay.
Be present.
So she stayed, and she stayed with all of her mess, and she wasn't the best, but she was there.
Yeah.
And in her mind, that was being a good parent. And so my journey in motherhood has been to, I guess, heal from the generational pain that comes along with abandonment and neglect. And so just having that understanding, I learned to give her grace and appreciate the journey. I had to say, you know what, thank you for not leaving.
Absolutely.
It wasn't easy. It was a lot of things you could have done better. There are a lot of things that you've done that have damaged me, that have hurt me, but I give you grace.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at my 3 daughters, and because you stayed, because let's say you left. If you left, then I would have been in that same position that you're in, trying to navigate neglect and navigate abandonment, but you stayed. And it was painful, but you passed the torch. And so now I get to raise 3 amazing daughters who haven't experienced any type of trauma or abuse, but it had to start with her. And so just having that intergenerational understanding has brought about a lot of healing for us. And so
you broke the generational
I broke the curse.
Look back and thank my mom for one, seeing that, okay, my son may be going down wrong path. Let me do some course correction now.
Exactly.
And so I appreciate that. And so and that, you know, that was my life. And I spent a lot of time out in the community, you know, played football for Willie Mays Cougars, Willie Mays Park, played football in Carver Shores for the boys club. So I was always outside. My sister, you know, wasn't outside as much, but I got a chance to just, you know, really hang out. And I didn't have a male figure in the home. So, you know, I didn't go and go fishing and camping and things like that. So I kind of grew up on my own outside. But when I came back in the home, it was a loving place, a lot of correction.
Yes, that's right.
You know, and,
you need that.
and again, while I didn't appreciate it then, I look back and say thank you to my mother and my grandmother now. And I'm, you know, my mother, beautiful woman of the community, and also my grandmother is 97 years old, still living.
Her.
Yes, so we're excited and pleased and thankful that we still have her, you know, with us. And I just thank the Lord every day for the family that I have.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
You mentioned that you didn't have a male figure growing up. Did you have any male mentors, uncles, or?
Yeah, so while my father didn't live in the home with us, I was very close with my father's father.
Okay, good.
Because I spent my summers in Valley, Alabama.
Okay.
So, you know, in the country. So that's where, you know, we had a garden. And so I learned some of my outdoor skills there. So while my father wasn't there then, I was close to my grandfather. But later on in my young years, my Uncle Ernest Page was very influential
in your life.
In my life.
Awesome.
He and my older cousin Ernest Page II, now Dr. Page. And then when I say Ernest Page, I need to correct that and say Mayor Page.
There you go. That's right.
Mayor
Get it
Page
right.
and Dr. Page. Those are two male figures in my life that really had, and you know, and guided me and corrected me, and you know, the two men that I look up to. And, you know, my cousin Ernest was. Growing up, he was the coolest person that I knew, but he was also the smartest person that I knew. And so at a young age, I realized that it was cool to be smart.
That's right.
You know, and so, you know, oftentimes you hear about kids who are smart, but they kind of dumb themselves down
Yeah.
because it's not cool.
It's not
I always
cool,
grew
right.
up knowing that it was cool to be smart because I knew my cousin was smart, and to me he was the coolest guy
Yeah.
around. So so I never had that problem of trying to dumb myself
yourself
down
down.
because if anything I stood up
Yes.
because he insisted that I do so.
Good. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
When I read your story on Facebook that you shared, it impacted me so bad. I literally teared up because I said, oh my gosh, somebody else is going through the same thing that I'm going through. And I can relate.
Yeah.
And so what made you decide to share that story, being such a prominent figure here in the community?
Yeah, well, what I really think that a lot of times we are not transparent enough. We want to have this perfect image. We want to maintain what we think society expects from us.
Exactly.
And I, for one, just saw a lot of people around me hurting. And I'm like, maybe I can help them with some of this healing if I just tell them what I have been through and what I did to overcome it. So that's what was really the driving force. It had nothing to do with me. A lot of people come forth or are more transparent because it's healing for them. Well, when I came forward, I had already experienced my healing.
Can you tell the viewers what it is that you were battling?
I had a bout with depression. Being in the entertainment industry, it's oftentimes that the people that are in the spotlight, they lose themselves.
Yes.
They lose the human element because everyone expects you to be invincible.
Right.
They don't think you get tired. They don't think you're allowed to be hoarse. They don't think you don't feel like singing one day. And then sometimes when you do, society will beat you up because they're like, oh, you have this gift, you don't want to use it, or you're taking it for granted. And that's not the case. I'm just a human. Right? And I'm not Superwoman. Nor Superman.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I really, battled who I was versus who CeCe Tennille was. And people can tell you all day long that there's no difference between the two, but you're definitely a different person when you're on stage versus when you're off stage. Because you have to be able to channel. One thing I tell people all the time about the stage is that when I take the stage, all right, because I'm such a transparent, so vulnerable, if you will, when I take the stage, generally it's 300 plus people in the room, right? And so imagine all of those 300 people pulling from one. All of their energy, negative, positive, good, bad, happy, sad. Okay, they're all pulling from one person. And so when I would finish, I would be depleted. But then when I got home, I didn't have anybody to build me up.
Like a yellow rose, all along the one I should have chose. When they all left me, you still held me close. Always been there for me, and it truly shows, truly shows. Now I know, and I'm not afraid to love it. Now I see, all I had to do was trust you. Now I need, and now I need you to forgive me. I'm ready to get back to our beginning. Baby, I'm sorry that I left you, but I finally found the perfect time and place. It's so perfect to get back to my back, to my back, to my first love. Got back to my back, to my back, to my first love. I don't know how I can forget everything I felt when we met. How we were inseparable. All we had was so incredible. Wasn't broke, trying to fix it.